Okay, today we're going to cover notes number 0B, which is going to be our second graphing review for Unit 8. So before we get started with new notes next week, so this one's going to go over the quadratic. So let's first kind of review our types of functions. First, we have linear. So if you guys remember, our linear is just a straight line, and our exponent is an x. So an example would be if we had like 2 to the x. With quadratic, if you guys remember, your quadratic is the U shape. Our exponent is 2, so we'd have something like x squared. Oh, I did linear wrong, you guys. Whew. Linear doesn't have an exponent of x. That's exponential. Silly, silly, silly. So your exponent's 1, so you'd have like x. Now, exponential is the last one. This is where we just got out of this unit, you guys. We have this slight curve. So our exponent is an x, so you'll have something like 2 to the x. Okay, so now let's go down and let's graph our parent function. So our parent function for quadratic is y equals x squared. So for this, we're going to fill in our input-output table. So we have -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. And if we square each of these, we're going to get 4, 1, 0, and then back up to 1, 4. Then plot your points. So -2, 4, -1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, and 2, 4. This is what it's going to look like. So if you guys remember, this is just going over our characteristics. Our vertex is the bottom or topmost point. So this one, our vertex is 0, 0. Max and min statement. So this is a min, since it's the bottom. It's a min of 0. At x equals 0, which is our axis of symmetry. And our axis of symmetry is that imaginary middle of line. So it goes right down at x equals 0. Your domain is always all real numbers. And then our ranges are y values. So think our y values touch at 0 and go up. So it's going to be greater than or equal to 0. And that's how we do our quadratic. Now, for the rest of the quadratics, we are going to be using our calculators to graph these. That way we can get a good table. So if we have our x and our y, we're going to use -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. Sometimes depending on what all you're graphing, you may need to slightly change that just so you can make sure you see all parts of your graph. So we're going to type this you can type it into your calculator or you can type it into Desmos. I'm on my laptop, so I'm going to type it into Desmos. X minus 2 minus 4. And then if you go to your gear in your table, those are your points. So we have 12, 5, 0, -3, and -4. -3 and -4. Okay, so I'm going to plot these. So -2, 12 is going to be off our graph. -1, 5, 0, 0, 1, -3, 2, -4. I'm actually going to keep going with this just so I get all the points. So on my graph over here, I'm going to keep. Why is this not what I do? So I'm going to do 3, 4. Okay. So I wanted to kind of see this pattern of from -4 to -3 to 0. So I'm going to do 3, 4, and 5. Sometimes you'll have to do this. Sometimes you won't. So I think it went back to -3 and then 0. and then 5. So I'm going to finish graphing those. So 3, -3, 4, 0, and then 5, 5. So sometimes we may have to plot more points than we really want to. Just make sure that you guys know how to find those more points on your calculator. So that is our U shape. So our vertex is our bottommost point, which is at 2, -4. This is a min of, it's a minimum of -4 at x equals 2. Our axis of symmetry is the x equals 2. Our domain is all real numbers. Now this one's at -4 and going up. So it's going to be y is greater than or equal to -4. Okay, let me know if you guys have any questions on that. That one was kind of tricky because we had to plot a couple more points than we are used to. Okay, next page. I think we have 3 more examples. Okay, so this first one, let's create our table. Put it in our calculator. Okay, and that's our graph. So this one looks pretty clean. So you have 0, -1.5, -2, and then we go back to -1.5, 0. Okay, plot your points. So -2, 0, -1, -1.5, so it's going to be down here. 0, -2, 1, -1.5, and then 2, 0. So this one has a wider shape. So our vertex is this bottommost point, which is 0, -2. This again is a min of -2 at x equals 0. X equals 0 is our axis of symmetry, because you remember your axis of symmetry is this imaginary middle line. Domain is all real numbers, and then our range, it's at -2 and going up. So y is greater than or equal to -2. Okay, last quadratic. So let's create our table. -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. So we're going to put this in Desmos. And again, you can put this in your graphing calculator. You do not have to do it in Desmos. I just don't have a graphing calculator on my laptop, on my Chromebook. Squared and then +3. Okay. And then hit your gear in the table. This is going to give me a table of points. Now I can see that this one, -1, 3, is my topmost point. So I may want to go do -3. Okay. So I have -2, 1, -1, 3. Then I go back to 1, then -5, and then -15. So the one that I looked at is -3. I kind of added up here, and that was -3, -5, just so I continue to have that U shape. So -3, -5, -2, 1, -1, 3, 0, 1, and then 1, -5. I am not going to graph the 15 just because it'd be like all the way on the bottom. So some, like this one, I had to go in the opposite direction so I could get another point to have an accurate graph. So this one, our vertex is -1, 3. It is a max, because it's the top, it's a max of 3 at x equals -1. My axis of symmetry is x equals -1 because that's that imaginary line. Our domain is always all real numbers, and then our y is going to be less than or equal to 3 because it's at 3 and going down. Okay, next one we have to graph it. So we're going to use the slope like we did yesterday, but it has to be, if you guys remember, in y equals mx plus b form. So we're going to have to move this x. So we're going to add it to the other side. You cannot combine 2 and x, so we're going to write them next to each other, and you want your x first and then your value. So my slope is 1, because it's that 1 over there, and then my y-intercept is 0, 2. So I'm going to go to my y-intercept, which is 0, 2. And then my slope is 1, so that means I rise 1, run 1. So rise 1, run, run. Rise 1, 1, run. I'm going the opposite direction. It's really all the points I need. If you want to keep going, you can. Well, I got it kind of a little off. That is what your line would look like. Next, identify the intersections of the following graph. So intersections is where our points meet. So this is an intersection, and this is an intersection. So I have -1, 1, and I have 2, -2. This one, they only intersect once at -4, -3, because I do my x and then my y. And these ones never intersect, so there is no intersect or intersection. Okay, let me know if you guys have any questions on this, and you guys can get started on your homework.